Namaste, and welcome to my continuing series during this COVID time. Um, Today, I'd like to continue and complete um, my articles on Mother on Cats. And next week, I will share with you Sri Aurobindo and Mother on animals. Mother begins. These cat stories went on for years and years. And it isn't true that they don't obey. It's just that we don't know how to handle them. Cats are extremely sensitive to the vital force, to vital power, and they can be made perfectly obedient and with such devotion. Cats are said to be neither devoted nor attached nor faithful, but that's not true at all. You can have quite a friendly relationship with them. And an incredible thing, this cat was very pretty, but she had a wretched tail, a tail like an ordinary cat. And one day when I was with her at the window, one of the neighbor's cats wandered into the garden, an Angora with three colors, three very prominent colors, and such a beautiful tail trailing behind. So I said, my cat was just beside me. Oh, just see how beautiful she is. What a beautiful tail she has. And I could see my cat looking at her. My child, in her next litter, she had one exactly like that. How did she manage it? I don't know. Three prominent colors and a magnificent tail. Did she hunt up a male Angora, or did she just will for it intensely? They are really something. You can't imagine. Once when she was due to give birth and was very heavy, she was walking along the window ledge and I don't know what happened, but she fell. She had wanted to jump from the ledge, but she lost her footing and fell. It must have injured something. The kittens didn't come right away. They came later, but three of them were deformed. There were six in all. Well, when she saw how they were, she simply sat on them, killed them as soon as they were born. Such incredible wisdom. They were completely deformed. The hind paws were turned the wrong way round. They would have had an impossible life. And she used to count her little ones. She knew perfectly well how many she had. I just had to tell her, keep only two or three. Although the first time there were only three, which was still too many. Yet it was absolutely impossible not to let her keep them all. But later on, I had to chide her. I didn't take them from her, but I would speak to her, convince her. It's too much. You'll be ill. Just keep these. See how nice these two are? Take care of them. Oh, what lovely cat stories. That was a whole period for many, many years, many years. Mind you, I would never have considered having any, but two cats were already there when I came to the house. They were not very interesting cats, but they became the parents of the one I just told you about. Those boys who were living with Sri Aurobindo had already had some experience. They knew quite a few things about cats. And that was the origin of all the cats I had here. But people, you know how simplistic they always are. believed I had some special attachment for cats. So then, of course, everybody started keeping cats. It was no use telling them, no, it's a particular study we're making. I wanted to see, to learn certain things, and I learned what I had to. But now that I had moved to another house, the cat era is over. The old friends are gone. Only the younger generation is left. I gave them all away and said, that's enough. But it's hard to make people understand. Some people here have 25 cats. That's unreasonable. It's not the way to deal with cats. You have to look after them as I did, and then it becomes interesting. There was one. I know. I saw it. When he died, there was already the embryo of a psychic being ready for a human incarnation. I made them progress like wildfire. Now, devotee asked the question to the mother. If the inner truth, the divine presence in the psychic, is so conscious in the child, it could no longer be said that a child is a little animal, could it? Mother replies, why not? In animals, there is sometimes a very intense psychic truth. Naturally, I believe that the psychic being is a little more formed, a little more conscious in a child than in an animal. But I have experimented with animals just to know. Well, I assure you that in human beings, I have rarely come across some of the virtues which I have seen in animals. Very simple, unpretentious virtues. As in cats, for example. I have studied cats a lot. If one knows them well, they are marvelous creatures. I have known mother cats which have sacrificed themselves entirely for their babies. People speak of maternal love with such admiration, as though it were purely a human privilege. But I have seen this love manifested by mother cats to a degree far surpassing ordinary humanity. I have seen a mother cat which would never touch her food until her babies had taken all they needed. I have seen another cat which stayed 8 days beside her kittens without satisfying any of her needs because she was afraid to leave them alone. And a cat which repeated more than 50 times the same movement to teach her young one how to jump from a wall to a window. And I may add, with a care, an intelligence, a skill which many uneducated women do not have. And why is it thus? Because there was no mental intervention. It was altogether spontaneous instinct. But what is instinct? It is the presence of the divine in the genus of the species, and that is the psychic of animals, a collective, not an individual psychic. I have seen in animals all the reactions, emotional, affective, sentimental, all the feelings of which men are so proud. The only difference is that animals cannot speak them and write about them. So we consider them inferior beings because they cannot flood us with books on what they have felt. I had a very sweet little cat, absolutely civilized, a marvelous cat. It was born in the house, and it had the habit all cats have That is to say, if something moved, it played with that. Just then there was in the house a huge scorpion. As was its habit, the cat started playing with the scorpion, and the scorpion stung it. But it was an exceptional cat. It came to me. It was almost dying, but it showed me its paw where it was bitten. It was already swollen and in a terrible state. I took my little cat, it was really sweet, and put it on a table and called Sri Aurobindo. I told him, Kiki has been stung by a scorpion. It must be cured. The cat stretched its neck and looked at Sri Aurobindo, its eyes already a little glassy. Sri Aurobindo sat before it and looked at it also. Then we saw this little cat gradually beginning to recover, to come around, and an hour later it jumped to its feet and went away completely healed. In those days, I had a habit of holding a meditation in the room where Sri Aurobindo slept, a room A uses now. And it was regularly the same people who came. Everything was arranged. But there was an armchair in which this very cat always settled beforehand, did not wait for anyone to get into the chair. It got in first itself. And regularly it went into a trance. It was not sleeping. It was not in the pose cats take when sleeping. It was in a trance. It used to start up. It certainly had visions, and it let out little sounds. It was in a profound trance. It remained thus for hours together. And when it came out from that state, it refused to eat. It was awakened and given food, but it refused. It went back to its chair and fell again into a trance. This was becoming very dangerous for a little cat. But this was not an ordinary cat. To finish my story, if you leave an animal in its normal state, far from man, it obeys the spirit of the species. It has a very sure instinct, and it will never commit any stupidities. But if you take it and keep it with you, it loses its instinct, and it is then you who must look after it, for it no longer knows what should or should not be done. I was interested in cats to make an experiment, a sort of inverse metempsychosis, if one can call it that. That is to see if this could be their last incarnation as animals, if they were ready to enter a human body in the next life. The experiment succeeded fully. I had 3 absolutely flagrant instances. They left with a psychic being sufficiently conscious to enter a human body. But this is not what men ordinarily do. What they usually do is to spoil the consciousness, or rather the instinct of animals. I hope you have enjoyed this and will understand much deeper the beauty of animals. And next week we will do Mother on Animals. Thank you. Namaste.